Set me up with a little Twitter trolling, if you will, between the University of Florida and the University of Tennessee, as the Vols apparently one of their commitments has been targeted. That's a little bit odd. Brought to you by Apex Apparel Group Design. 15% off of your first order. Call Tyler, 865-919-3001, 865-919-3001. All kinds of apparel for your company, spirit wear as well. What's this Florida trolling going on for one of Tennessee's top prospects?
Yeah, so a recent Tennessee commitment, LaGonza Hayward, who committed to Tennessee back in a couple of weeks ago, out of Georgia. Florida fan tweeted out, "The real DBU should have joined," and it was in reference to LaGonza Hayward. And Hayward responds saying, "No, I shouldn't have. Tennessee is home." And I'll let you go first because I have some thoughts that maybe this chat room won't like.
Well, I don't believe you should tweet at players because they're 17-year-old kids. And I think that if you do, it should be overly positive. These guys have achieved their dreams and achieved their goals. And I'm sorry that it may not be your school they chose, but it should be celebratory from them. And I've been close to situations where kids have gotten ripped on Twitter and social media. And to me, it's incredibly distasteful, some of the things that I have seen. So I feel like that Florida fan is having a little bit of fun, but be careful. Don't cross the line of name calling, or don't cross the line of, I don't know. We know where the line is. That one didn't cross the line, but I think it shows that Florida's a little bit desperate, because I don't think Hayward was ever considering the University of Florida seriously, based off what I was told.
No, I don't either. And remember 2 months ago when people thought Billy Napier was on a roll on recruiting, and now that's not happening. I agree. I think this is all in good fun, because it's like, I should have chosen Florida. That's totally fine. You do cross lines, though, and oftentimes the lines don't cross on Twitter. They're worse now because of Twitter, but Dave, I've read stories about the treatment of T. Martin in the state of Alabama after he committed to Tennessee. And, like, they basically just there were stores that refused to sell his mom things because he committed to.
Well, I'll give you a worse example. I don't know that he wants it out there, but I know of a Tennessee offensive lineman whose mother worked for the South Carolina state government, and she was fired when he committed to Tennessee.
That's insane. That's absolutely insane. It's absolutely ridiculous.
I don't know that he wants it out there, so I don't want to say the name, but I may have reported that. I'm not even sure. But
there was a gas station.
He was basically told, it's like, I assume you're moving to Knoxville now. I mean, that is, sometimes we take recruiting a little far, don't we?
Oh yeah. Well, when the worst we all know is when Peyton Manning committed to Tennessee. I don't know if you guys know this, but Archie Manning had a gas station he would stop at on the way from New Orleans to Oxford to go to Ole Miss games. And after Peyton Manning committed to Tennessee, the owner of the gas station said, "I don't want you coming back here anymore. You're not welcome here."
Yeah, but the thing that's different now, Caleb, is that everybody's accessible via social media. So at least if I did it to your face and it's anything offensive enough, you can punch me in the nose. You know, it's Mike Tyson that says social media has made a lot of people forget what it's like to get punched in the nose. And some people need to get punched in the nose that are ripping 17-year-old kids.
What was it Drake said? Trigger fingers turn to Twitter fingers. And it's a great line.
I've heard that, but I like it.
Yeah. Trigger fingers turn to Twitter fingers. And I agree. And I think that, but I also think, and this is my very unpopular take. And LaGonza Hayward, this is my advice to you. Because of social media, you're going to get a lot of unwarranted, unfostered rage hate. Brush it off. I'm sorry, and because I'm going to warn you right now, I dismiss coaches when they say they're getting death threats on Twitter. I don't care, because everybody's getting death threats on Twitter. So I'm going to say this ahead of time. Brush it off. I don't think LaGonza Hayward's upset by this tweet to his face. I think he was just responding and having a little fun with it.
I think it's
Now,
good for Tennessee in that it shows he's completely committed. I've thought about writing a book called Getting Your Kid Recruited for Dummies. And you know what the first chapter would be?
what's that?
Get off social media completely. That would
Yeah.
be if my son was, now it would be tough with what we do, but if I did something else for a living, the first thing I would do when that first scholarship came down the pike is I would delete my social media account, because I wouldn't want to be attacked by reporters and recruiters. And listen, and I would have one separate phone call. Trust me, I could write Getting Your Kid Recruited for Dummies. I could do that.
Oh, that's actually a great idea. I would actually disagree with you on, in the age of NIL, Dave, though, you can't take off social media. Social media is such a vessel for you to make money for yourself now that, and you were probably right before you could make money, but now that you can make money off social media, I think you gotta go all in. I'll say this, though. The other hot take, Twitter guy wasn't lying. I mean, Florida kind of is DBU. Never thought about it, but I'm like, Tennessee's wide receiver U and Penn State was linebacker U. Florida has been a factory for elite defensive backs over the years.
More than LSU?
I think they're close. Florida and LSU are close to each other. Florida did have Reggie Nelson, Joe Hayden, back in the day, Lito Shepherd. I thought, when he played in college, I thought Lito Shepherd was the best cornerback I ever saw in the SEC at that time.
Yeah, he's a pretty good player. I wonder, too, because somebody posted this on the message board, so I want to address it. How much of this is a sign of Florida's desperation? Because looking at them right now, they are ranked 40th in the nation in recruiting. And my goodness, I never would have guessed it would be this bad. I've got on a quick count, I've got 12 teams ahead of them. You might want to check my math in recruiting, but my goodness, it feels like you could fall out of bed and do better than 40th for detail-oriented Billy Napier.
I don't know how I feel about this. How I can't gauge Florida. You know, a couple of people that are down there. You're very well connected to some sources that cover Florida. They seem to be still more defensive of Billy Napier than, I'll give you an example, Tennessee with Butch Jones. I can tell you this: when I was covering Tennessee and Butch Jones in 2017, Dave, I kid you not, fans were actively rooting for commits to leave and flip. They wanted Butch Jones embarrassed so badly so he could get fired in disgrace. They were wanting Tennessee to lose. There was a whole contingency of fans rooting for Alabama to cover the spread against Tennessee that year, and the spread was like 28 points. And people were so upset with Butch Jones and how annoying he had gotten that they were just ready. They wanted everything wrong. So that's why it was funny when Cade Mays first flipped his commitment from Tennessee. I think a lot of Tennessee fans didn't say a lot of negative things because they were like, hey, it's like, we want him gone. It's Butch Jones. That's what they were thinking. But then when Jeremy Pruitt took over as head coach, I will say Tennessee fans behaved very badly to Cade Mays after he flipped to Georgia. What were you going to do if you were Cade Mays in that moment?
No, you had no choice to go to Georgia. You ended up coming back to Tennessee. Over 100 people in the chat, so please hit the like button. Don Self, State Farm customer service still matters, especially when you need that claim taken care of. For 40 years, they built their business on taking care of their customers in the greater Chattanooga area. Call 423-396-2126. The number right down below, or donself.net, donself.net. And if Florida doesn't feel desperate, they should, because I've got real concern, and I know the transfer portal, you can build it back quicker than you could, but they don't have to look very far to the west to see what happens when a coach decides to go ahead and throw in the towel in recruiting, because it happened at Florida State with Jimbo Fisher. And they were left with a roster bereft of talent. And again, it's difficult to do that in the state of Florida. So if I'm the University of Florida, I'm feeling desperate. I'm concerned. My recruiting's bad. I mean, to not be top 20 in the state of Florida is befuddling to me. It really stuns me. And somebody pointed out on the message board, I did not know they were that low.
Yeah, I mean, I got to be honest, I wasn't totally sure they were that low either. It's actually crazy to think about. There was a year recently, and Dave, this is kind of just indicative of where things are down in that state, but I think it was 2021. 2021, Florida State, Florida, nor Miami finished in the top 25. How does that happen?
I don't know. It's difficult. Now, there's a lot of competition now, and the budgets are bigger. It used to be Tennessee had success in South Florida because they could go there as often as they wanted. They had no restrictions on budget. So a lot of schools have more budgets, so there's more competition. It's people think more competition, more schools. It's not more schools. It's more schools can go more often and do a better job. But you look at Florida's class; they've got 12 commits right now, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 are 4-star, and the rest are 3-star commitments. Wow, that's bad. So if you're a Tennessee fan, you're rooting for that. If you're a Florida fan, you should be very concerned. And if you want to correct me on the message board, give it a shot. I respond.